All right, my review on this new Tyler Perry movie, you know what I mean, is irking me, So I'm just gonna start out from the very beginning. I'm gonna start off with two comments that I seen because I like to go to do Google reviews and read some of the comments to see if anybody has a kind of like minded take on it, such as me. But one of the comments that I read was from this guy, and he was like, "Oh, he didn't like the way that they made the white cop, a angry racist, and they made the single black mom an angel." That was stupid. That was a stupid comment. Another person, they pointed out that hold on, what did they? Let me see. I don't even remember what the other comment was. But in any case, we're gonna start from the beginning, man. So off top, that first comment the guy said was stupid because there was at least two other black people, at least, that was just as rude, mean, and nasty as that white cop. And then there was this other lady that was just as stupid and mean as the white guy. She just wasn't as aggressive. We'll get to all of that. So the firstly starting off, when she's leaving the apartment, her landlord is yelling at her. I need my money. I'm gonna put your stuff out on the road. Blah 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 blah. So my thing is this: we have to accept accountability for our actions. So in most cases, when you late on rent, what happens? You get a late fee, right? That's it. You get a late fee. It ain't until a month, maybe two, if the person who's dealing with you is lenient, they'll give you, they'll give you before they start giving you eviction notices and stuff. Um, so what kind of predicament was this woman in that she couldn't that she was being put out so abruptly? You feel me? Like, how far behind was she? Was she just a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months? What was it? They didn't specify. So, being as like I said, is if you just a couple of days, weeks, or whatever behind, they just gonna give you a late fee. So if it was more than that, you can't really blame the landlord for wanting to put her out because you can see how weak and timid this woman was. Ain't nobody got time for that, baby. Everybody got stuff going on. I understand what you got going on, but at the end of the day, I got stuff going on too. I got to keep the money rolling in from these apartments. You ain't doing it. I can get somebody in here that's willing to do it, right? So you got to go. And what better time to put your stuff out on the street than when you at work? That way I ain't got to deal with you, no hassle and nothing like that. I'm not being cold hearted, but like I said, we don't know the circumstances. We don't know the situation. Because honestly, the movie was just poorly written. But in this particular situation, given what we've been given, this is where my review is coming from. But a lot of the movie didn't make sense. It was just dumb. So anyway, moving along. She says, I'm gonna get the money to you, yada yada yada. So she gets to work. Now she has this mean a-hole boss. This is the second guy the second person I was talking about was just as mean as the white cop. And I would consider them to be even meaner simply because they knew her. They knew what she was going through. They knew about her daughter and her struggling and all of this stuff. But anyway, they was mean. Like I said, they was even meaner than the cop because they knew her. But her boss, a straight, he was a straight butt. You feel me? Then she gets a call. She says, "We need you to come to the school. Uh, you know, to come take care of your baby." She's like, "Okay." Her boss gives her hell, and eventually he says, "Okay, I give you 30 minutes." Well, she knows that she said I think she said she's not gonna make it, but and he knows that she's probably not gonna make it. But in any case, she leaves. Then she looks across the street at the bank. It's like, oh my God, baby, you could have went on your lunch break or after work to go over there and try to get the money, get that little $40 something off that card. You know what I mean? But no, you chose to do it right then at this moment. This is stupid writing. This is what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense. First, I forgot something too. That grocery store was too daggone packed to be that early in the morning. I'm talking about she's just not getting there. So that's 8 8 in the morning, 7 at least 7, because I'm quite sure she had to be there by 8. Kids going off to school and everything like that. People at work. It was too many people in that store to be that early in the morning. Tyler Perry. That was stupid. I guess you didn't think people would be paying attention to these certain details. But anyway, like I said, fast forward back to the bank. Why would you go to the bank knowing that you only had 30 minutes to go do what you had to do? That little car that she was driving, if you ain't have at least a half a tank in there, you doing something extremely wrong, because it's small. And if you ain't doing nothing but going back and forth to work and to school and maybe to the hospital, you should have had plenty of gas in the car. You know what I mean? But anyway, you go over there to this bank, you find out that, and then this is what the third thing that done happened to her. First, it was the threat of eviction. Then it was her boss, and now it's the bank. She says, "Oh, well, you didn't have the minimum of $50 in there, so they shut it down." She's like, "Well, where's my $47? I just like that." She's like, "Nah. You got to get in line. You know what I'm saying? They'll take care of you." But she can't get in line because she got to go. So she eventually ends up leaving. Then the next thing happened to her. She gets to the school. The DHR taking her baby. Now, this is another stupid writing. Why would you lie on this child? Why would you call DHR and lie on this child? This woman said her baby was not dirty. She just didn't have hot water, but her baby was. Now I don't understand. Why would you put that in there? You know what I'm saying? The fact, even if you didn't have hot water, but you was keeping your baby clean, the fact that you didn't have water would have been irrelevant. You know what I mean? And as far as not eating and stuff like that, being malnourished, uh, this principal would have known that. You know what I mean? And then as far as the bruises, if you ain't coming in there with bruises all the time on you, you know what I mean? And and maybe they would have asked the little girl, well, what happened to your back? She could have simply explained it. Well, I don't like, my mom doesn't, I want to take my own baths. And I convinced my mom to let me take one by myself, and I slipped in the tub and kind of bruised up my back a little bit. She was a little upset with me, so she probably won't let me take baths by myself anymore, or something to that extent. You know what I mean? Uh, because kids aren't stupid. They are a product of their parents' teachings. So if this woman was teaching her child and talking to her and stuff like that, she would have had the proper vocabulary to be able to at least, at the bottom line, tell what actually happened and how it happened, why it happened. But anyway, that whole situation was stupid. Then you got these two people dragging this little girl off as if she's an inmate. This little bitty girl, they dragging her off, Uh anyway, that's stupid. That's another stupid thing. DHR come, the principal sitting there looking all distraught. It's like, you did this. Why are you sitting there looking this way? You did this. So anyway, um, she leaves from there. She's on her way home, and she's driving. She's trying to get back to work. She tries to go around. As she's trying to go around, there's this unmarked this vehicle that's darting down the way too. So him being what he was, you would think that he would have seen this car pulling out in the traffic by him maybe having a little bit more attention to detail, you know. So this car pulls out in the traffic, and let me see how much time I got. Okay, he pulls out in the traffic, and boom, they almost get into a wreck. He swerves, and he gets out. No, he's like, "Oh, you're gonna wish you never woke up or whatever." And he takes off after her, and then he pit maneuvers her and spins her out. And it's pouring down, raining. Was it raining at that point? I don't remember. But he spins her out, and you know, then this police officer shows up out of nowhere. Like, where were you at when this guy took off on the side road, or when she did, because there was way too much traffic for you to just pull up. And you know, and even if he would have called you, you would have made it there that fast. So another stupid aspect of the movie. It's a lot of stupid aspects. It's a lot of stupid things. So now all of a sudden he's bad. Oh, you didn't know I was a cop, did you? And all of this, he was an off duty cop, right? I can't go to pick and save and then just hop on a register and start doing my job if I'm not clocked in. If I'm not on the clock. So shut your. I hate when cops do that. I'm an off duty officer. They want to walk around with their badge and their gun. That's a problem. When you can't differentiate between your everyday life and your job, is a problem. You got some kind of complex. You know what I mean? Leave your badge and gun at home. It's not that serious. Now, for the cops that just so happen to be around something and they see a situation and they kind of assert themselves in it, because they have the training to maybe diffuse or de-escalate or whatever situation, and they make it known, I'm a police officer. You know what I'm saying? Okay, maybe I can see that, but you're still off duty. You know what I mean? Um, a soldier can't come to the states, walk around in his fatigues with his assault rifle, pointing guns at what he believes to be insurgents, can he? No. Nigga, you off the clock. You on leave. You whatever. Sit down, rest somewhere. Let the on duty cops and sergeants and soldiers and stuff take care of business. Let them do their job while they on the clock. You sit down somewhere. Anyway, moving on. The cop, the lady cop, she was nice, but she still was a dick because she was a butthole. Sorry, because she was with the good old boy system. She knew that this guy was wrong. She said that she didn't see what happened, but yet she took this guy's side, knowing that she's seen how this car looks, etc., etc. So she gives the girl a whole bunch of tickets, and she tries to tow. She says she's going to tow a vehicle. Now it's pouring down, raining. She's walking to work. She finally gets to work, but she's 2 hours late. And now he's yelling, snapping, and doing all this, and it's like that's crazy, dripping wet, and now and he fires her after cussing her out. Now this is another stupid thing, man. You can't be cussing your employees out like that. It's something called HR. You know what I mean? All she had to do is call HR or corporate or whatever and talk about unsafe working conditions. And I'm quite sure she would have had some other employees that would have, like the other girl that said they was her friend and whoop de whoop. Even though the girl kept saying, I don't have nobody, but we're gonna get to that too. Somebody would have had her back by saying how much of a butthole this manager was, and they may have gotten another manager from another store to come in there and be a lot nicer, more lenient, and do their job a little bit better, right? But anyway, now she gets fired, and then the guy has her check right there in the office, but he was like, "Oh no, we gonna mail it to you. Your problems ain't my problems. I don't care what you got going on. Uh, that ain't none of my concern. So you can kick rocks. You can get on up out of here." But he said it in a much more nastier way. So she leaves, and then she goes home to find all her stuff out in the rain, getting rain all over, all on the ground, everything that she owned, her mattresses and her paperwork, documents, and her baby stuff, and the baby's medicine, everything just out on the ground. Like that's another tragic moment, but that's a little bit. That's one of the more realistic aspects of the movie. Because, like I said, if you're trying to evict somebody, it's probably because they're a couple of months behind and you tired of it. Like she said, okay, you tell them to cut the music down at night because so my baby can sleep. She was like, nah, he pay his rent. Don't worry about what he got going on. He pay his rent. You know what I mean? Tight, tight, tight. But that's sexy right there. I lined that up pretty good. You like that? Oh, okay. Anyway, so Now she picks up a few things out of the yard, and then I guess she tries to go. She goes back to the office, and she tries to get a check. The guy still being a butthole is like, no, I'm not going to give it to you. You get the check in the mail. You've been fired. The check's sitting right there. Then this is another stupid thing. These guys come in and try to rob a convenience store with no masks. You came into a convenience store in broad daylight with no masks, store full of cameras and people, and tried to rob it. Who robs a convenience store in this manner? When have you ever heard somebody run into the back of a store trying to rob it? I don't know. Maybe there's some cases that happened, but I don't remember any. But I don't know every case that. But you get what I'm saying. That ain't no normal crime, I guess you would say. But come on, bro, that it just didn't make sense. And then the dude sitting there with all the money out on the table. We in 2025. Who do you know does that? Unless this movie took place in another era that I just don't know about, another year, and they just didn't specify this, then that was stupid. Who do you know? Who do you know does that? Especially in the broad daylight, they'll wait to the end of the day to lock the doors to make that count, or they'll close and lock their doors to make that count. Um, there's only so much money out at a time. You know, all the stores that I've worked at, I've never just walked in and saw my manager or boss counting big stacks of money. Um, and like when I worked at this one place, I'm not gonna say what it was, but when I worked at this one place, we had to count the money ourselves. Except we didn't count. I don't think we count the money that was in the safe. I don't think we count the money that was in the safe. I can't remember. It's been so long ago. But at the end of the night, you definitely have to count up your register. And I think maybe you put something in the safe and got something out that said that I don't remember. But we was locked. The doors was locked at this time, and again, there was only so much money out at a time. That's why you had to put big bills in the safe as soon as you got them. Hundreds and fifties go right in the safe. And I think like the manager may count the safe like the next day, but there was some way for us to document what we put in that safe. I don't remember how, but we just didn't have all that money out. You only were supposed to have a certain amount of money in your drawer. If you had too much, you're supposed to put it in the safe. Maybe we did have to open the safe at the end of the night. I don't know. Either way, we just wasn't sitting in broad daylight counting money. So that was stupid. And then they come in there, and then he come. It was two guys. They come in there, give me all the money, and then they take the money, and then you try to take this woman purse too. Come on, man. Stall him out. You got to be a cold heartless SOB. And I know it's some heartless people out there, but you got all this money sitting here on this thing, and this woman is in here. You could just look at her and see that this woman was going through something. So why would you try to rob her too? You try to take her bag? Come on, man. That's dirty, but that's stupid. Like if I'm me personally, if I'm robbing somebody and I come in and I see all this fat stacks of money on the table, I'm just taking that. That's it. I didn't hit what I needed to hit. You know what I'm saying? Give me this. Because I know what that lady probably got in her purse working at this little convenience store ain't gonna be nowhere near as much money as it is right here on this table. So let me grab this and get on up out of here. Because I'm just gonna leave this. But no, that ain't what happened. He goes over there and pistol whips her a couple times and try to take her bag, and she's like, no. And then some way or another, she gets the gun from him, and she ends up shooting him. And then the boss sitting there, the butthole that he is, you set this up. Why would she set this up? The man tried to snatch her purse and hit her in the head with a pistol too. That didn't even make sense, but he ain't thinking logical. You set this up, I know you did. So she pops him because he's talking about, oh, I'm gonna get you sent to prison and you ain't gonna never see that little girl again and yada yada yada. Cold hearted, Instead of saying, are you all right? Are you okay? Let me check your face. Are you bleeding? You did a good job here. Let me call the police. No, I wasn't none of that. He just immediately went to blaming her, not even the guy laying down on the ground. So she pops him too, man. Now, I guess you could say it's kind of noble that she didn't take the money. But, so I guess that could be a realistic aspect when all she wanted was her check. But my thing is, you done murdered somebody. You might as well take the money. Because murder ain't going to trump. I mean, robbery ain't going to trump murder. You know what I mean? And I don't think they may have tried to get you for armed robbery. But I think once you explain the situation, I don't know. That would be more charges, even if you got off on the robbery or on the murder robbery type thing, which she probably wouldn't because she didn't have no probable cause to shoot this man. So you going to jail for murder in the world that we live in, you going to jail for murder. If you explain it, I don't know if there were cameras in that office, but if you explain what happened, how it happened, you going to jail for murder. Now I have a theory on how she could have lied, which it ain't that hard. She could have said that the guy came in, she was in there trying to get her check after this man done fired her. She done got put out, and all her stuff was in the rain. She came back to try to get her check, and this guy busted in the door, and an argument ensued. He was taking the money, but he also tried to take my purse. And then we got into a scuffle. We fought for the gun. In the midst of fighting for the gun, in the midst of fighting for the gun, it went off and shot the manager. Boom, that takes care of him. And it also takes care of how you could have got gunpowder on your hands. Well, I guess you could have did that anyway. Could have explained that anyway, but boom. We was wrestling for the gun. It went off and hit the manager, and then I ended up getting the gun from him, and then I ended up shooting him. And boom, you get out of the murder. You know what I mean? They can't say that it didn't happen like that if they ain't got no cameras in there. And then if you get on that stand and a lawyer let you testify and tell your story, then oh my God, they really not finna convict you. And anyway, she takes her check, her little bloody check, she takes it to the bank. And now when she gets there, she's knocking on the door. My arm's hurting from holding this phone. She knocks on the door, and there's nobody in the bank, no customers. They closing. Okay, man, we close. It's 4:00, and then the bank teller says, "Let her in." So she lets her in. He lets her in, and then all of a sudden, there's 3 people in the bank. There's 3 customers in the bank. I think it was 3. 2 old ladies and an old man. Right? Now, I don't really remember. Maybe I turned my head away. I don't really remember how the gun came into play. I don't know if she walked around. She walked all the way over there to the bank with it, but she didn't because she had her purse in one hand and she was knocking on the door with the check with the other. So if the gun was in the bag, why would you pull that out? That's what I'm saying. Unrealistic. First, you got the 3 people that wasn't in the bank before. Now they in the bank. Come on, Tyler Perry. You don't think people paying attention to this? And then You got the bag. Now, if you know you got a gun and a fake bomb in this bag, now I know she was going through a lot, but come on. Logic didn't just go out the window. Why would you pick up something that looked like a fake bomb and put it in a clear backpack to go to the bank? And you also got a loaded firearm, Tyler Perry. So you mean to tell me that all this woman's logic just went out the window, but she still had enough sense to pick up her baby's medicine off the ground? She still had enough sense to walk all the way to the bank. She still had enough sense or go to the or did she go to the bank afterwards? In any case, she still had enough sense to, get there in bed to get in here. But then when she get into the bank, all of a sudden, all of her common sense just leaves. So instead of her just sitting the bag down on the ground and then giving the lady the teller the check and saying, I just need to cash this, and getting her money and getting the hell up out of there, no, she goes into the bag and pulls out a pistol and starts waving it around, talking about, why are you acting this way? I just want to cash my check. She gave me all this money. I don't want all this money. And then that's another stupid aspect of the movie. Woman, this lady said all she wanted to do was get her money. So why are you sitting here acting all frantic? It wasn't like she said, put all the money in the bag. No, she said, look, I just want to cash my check. Could you just please cash this check for me? So a logical person, they may have been a little shooken up, a little scared, but a logical person would have said, okay, let me see how this plays out. I'm gonna get this woman her money and see how this goes. So you give her the money, her $521, and now you've done what you're supposed to do. And then you move on. You go from there. If she asks for more money, then you give it to her. But if she don't, then you done what you're supposed to do. You just get on out the way. That could have all been deaded right then and there. But no, she pushed a silent alarm and all of this jazz. She was stupid. The Tessa girl behind the teller. I said it when I was watching the movie. That I seen some other people say it. That woman should be fired after all of that because she handled that so terribly. You are in a bank, so it's can you handle somebody putting a gun in your face? That's just like if you working at a convenience store or a gas station. I know you can't say what you would do in that situation, but you have to know that this is something that could possibly happen, right? People might come. You a bank teller, baby. Somebody might come in here and try to rob you. And this is the procedure. But this woman is shaking like loose booty meat. Like, come on now, get it together. Anyway, man, moving on. So the logic went out the window because this woman is sitting here waving this firearm with this bomb, this fake bomb in a see-through bag, right? So then now everybody thinks she's holding up the bank. The woman done hit the side of the law. The police come. And remember that earlier the cop says that I'm going to find a legal way to kill you. What cop says that? I'm going to find a legal. You better believe it. I better not see you again. I'm going to find a legal way to kill you, to murder you. I mean, come on, bro. Who says that? Come on, Tyler. Anyway, moving on. So now she's in this bank with these with 3, 4, 5, 6 hostages. You got 3 employees and 3 customers, and the security guard that took off. No. You had okay. Another guy was in there. The big the husky dude with the white shirt on and the security guard. So they all in there arguing, and then the husky dude tries to run and attack old girl, and that's when the gun went off. But yet him and the security guard had enough time to run out the door. Come on, bruh. You don't want to attack her. You think she's gonna let you leave out of anybody? But anyway, so the security guard and the dude, and then he goes out there and say this woman in there robbing a bank, but she had already said several times that I'm not robbing a bank. I just want to cash my check. She said that while he was in there. So why would he go outside and tell them folks that, oh yeah, well she was in there robbing the bank, so I tried to attack her because the security guard wasn't doing nothing. More stupid writing. So now she has these hostages and she's trying to figure things out. The police are outside, and I don't know how the police figured that she had a bomb because nobody was able to tell her that. They hit the silent alarm. There was no communication between the two. Or oh, no, I don't know. Maybe the bank teller she was talking to somebody in there. Yeah, she did. She might have told him when she was in that back room talking to him on the phone. But anyway, so now you got this whole situation going on, right? And then you got this stupid Tessa girl. She's causing a commotion. Then the two old people, they cause a commotion. It's just a problem with you young folks. You don't want to work. You don't even know this girl, man. And now you in her judging her like that. And then the woman said all she wanted to do was cash a check that she wasn't robbing the bank. So she had to be working to some degree to get a check. So then they finally get to leave, and now they still in here held up hostage, and she gets some chairs because the old lady started to feel bad. And, they're trying to persuade her to come out. She gets to talking to Teyana Taylor fine self. And then she persuades her. Eventually she's like, okay, well, I tell you what, if you get that cop from out there that wrote me that ticket, yada, 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 and said that he was going to kill me, I'll let everybody go. But the thing about that is you never this whole time told them who the cop was. You seen him on the TV screen, so you know what he had on. You already knew what he looked like, but now you know what he has on. It would have been so easy to tell them who it was. But no, you didn't. You just said that cop. You just said it was a woman cop that was working in the such and such area around such and such time. And there was a guy, that guy that's right there in the such and such, he drives a Mustang, whoop de whoop. You didn't give them all this information to be able to find the people who that you was looking for. Y'all just kept hanging up on each other. And then she's hanging up on people. She don't want to talk to people. But if you're not robbing the bank, you're making it look so suspicious. And you know what I mean? And just a whole bunch of stupid activity, unrealistic activity going on. So finally, now FBI jumps in, and I'm jumping all over the place, and I'm missing a lot of stuff. But I'm just trying to hurry up on this little review. But it was stupid because, like I said, then the FBI comes, and another thing that kept ticking me off is the whole time that they're talking to this girl, they never ask, "Is that a bomb?" They never mention it. They just all just assume that she had a bomb. So, but nobody asked or mentioned. You didn't hear any mention of a bomb squad, right? Nobody said anything about a bomb squad. It was like, oh, we just gonna go in. And he was like, no, you don't know if that bomb is active or not. Yada yada yada. Tyler Perry with this mediocre cast. Just a few key players and then a few background people, and then every now and then there's a group of people, such as in the grocery store and stuff like that. But anyway, so now the stupid Tesla girl goes in there and says there's only one gun. The bomb is fake, which doesn't really pan out for nothing. Like, why did you even put that in there? Because the FBI was going to try to come in there regardless as to whether it was they was like, this has been going on for too long. It's been 12 hours. But it's like, how in the HE double hell HE double hockey sticks could it have been 12 hours? Did that, what time was it when all this ended? Because it had only recently became nighttime, right? Well, no 12 hours. But anyway, and it had to be right, it was after 4 when they went to the bank. So if it was 12 hours, that would put that at what? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. Don't judge me. It would have put it at 4 o'clock in the morning. Don't judge me. It would have put it at 4 a.m. Um, I thought about it when I got to 10. I'm like, man, it's 4 a.m. I'm tripping. But anyway, it would have been 4 o'clock in the morning. And when nobody saying that, you still had bystanders out there, people just chilling. All these people out here. You mean to tell me that all these people were sitting out here at 4 o'clock in the morning talking about some free this woman? No. Shell no. So, another stupid aspect. And then, fast forwarding through all the stupidity, eventually she lets the hostages go. They find the guy who was, uh, who gave her the tickets. Now, and they go to him like, you know what you did, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, all this is because of him. But it's not. It wasn't because of him. Well, I guess, it really wasn't because of him, because she was already holding the people hostage before she even knew the cop was out there. You know what I mean? So then that was her excuse for not letting them go towards the end of it all. But he didn't know. He didn't know that she said, I'm not coming out until they get rid of him. He didn't know. He didn't see that. He didn't hear that. He didn't know that. And I'm quite sure if he did, he might have still not have said nothing. Maybe he would have. But what I'm saying is, when did they put out an APB or something like that? Or, you know what I mean? On the cop that ran this woman off the road and gave this woman a ticket? Did they just, make an announcement outside with a megaphone? Any cop who ran this woman off the road earlier, yada, 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 or know of any cop who did it, please step forward now so we can get this resolved. If you take too long to come forward and we find out that it's you, the consequences will be worse than that if you just come forward now. Something like that. You know what I mean? They would have deaded all of that. But no, she told them what they wanted, and then they went out trying to find out who wrote her tickets earlier. So now you got to go to which still wouldn't have been too hard to do if you would have just went to one of the daggone computers in the cop car and typed in the woman's name, and it would have showed that she had got a ticket earlier that day through this woman. Stupid writing. But anyway, once they figure out who it was, by this time the FBI is there, and the FBI's no nonsense. So you got this cop comes in, it's over with. You guys, we're no more talking. It's over with. We're going in. We're about to demonstrate. You feel me? So he just all aggressive, talking about it's been 12 hours. So I guess at this point it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. And him and his whole SWAT team is out here ready to just go in there and demonstrate. And with this one woman with this one pistol, and you know that it's a fake bomb, etc. But Tiana still picks up the phone and she talks to her. She lets her know, like, hey, we found the guy, so let the hostages go, then you come on out. And then she does all of this, but then Taraji's character decides to stay in there and talk for a little bit longer. It's like, man, would you just take your behind outside already? You want to sit in here and talk and have a conversation and cry and all of this. And so then what really kind of ticked me off is because now her mother calls. Now, you said you didn't have nobody. So if you didn't have nobody, remember she kept saying, I don't have a place to go. So if you didn't have nobody, you didn't have a place to go, that means that you and your mama ain't on good terms. I wouldn't even picked up the phone for my mama. Not if we was on that bad of terms. But you picked up and you was explaining yourself to her as if that was something that you had to do. But baby, you've been running around this whole town talking about how you didn't have no help. Now, I can understand that she not having no help to go get her daughter from school because her mama might have been at work. But for you to sit here and say that you didn't have no place to go after being kicked out, then that means that your mama wasn't no help. So what is you doing talking to her? You ain't nothing to be explained. But then also, Tyler Perry does this thing where after she says the daughter died the night before. Then she starts doing this flashback. So it got me wondering, what does this mean? Because now you're showing everything that happened throughout the day was not as it seemed. When she kept saying, when she said, I'm on the phone with my daughter's school, but it was somebody talking about a bill. Then when she dropped the daughter off at school, she was waving, but the principal looking like, who you waving at me? Like, and then when she had to come back to the school, the principal's like, nobody called you up here. What are you talking about? And all these different things, even when she was at the house, all these different things that was going on, making it seem like her daughter, like, what was your daughter this whole was did it happen or did it not happen? And then and then and then so SWAT and then they show this version of where SWAT finally comes in and they shoot her. And I was like, yes, because I've been wanting her to get shot because she was annoying to me. All of that. You know, that's what Taraji be doing in those movies like that. That timid, just like a little lost girl. You know what I'm saying? And I'm watching this like, man, I hate this because it's showing weak women how to be weaker. This ain't no strong black woman movie. So Tyler Perry always coming with the stereotypes and the stupid antics and you know what I mean, pushing these agendas. And it's like, you are not helping the community with this bull. Even when you think about the whole Bud Deal movies, you really think, when you put everything into perspective, like you had the people hypnotized for a while, but then years later they woke up to the bull and they like, you know what? You just one big homosexual man walking around in a dress, pretending to be a woman, loving it, and everybody is just damaged but you. You the only one that's not damaged. You come in and you the funniest one. You the most wisest one. You want to sit people down and have whole conversations, dressed in this dress as a woman. You know what I mean? When there's plenty of black women out here that you could have got to play that part. But and then we go out, we hear that you stole a lot of your material from this other, I think it was a homosexual guy that used to dress in drag at some gay bar, and he was the one that was coming up with a lot of the material. Tyler Perry would go in there and sit in there, you know, with his hat on and sit in the booth in the back, you know, and steal this man woman's material and then go back and put it in his plays and his movies and stuff. The man woman came out and said this, you know, in a little, you know, a little documentary of sorts of our own or his own. So it's like, man, you've been playing on the folks for all this time. So anyway, now you done did this second alternative theory to whatever happened, that she gets shot and all of this. And it's like Taraji is a great actor, but sometimes like in this movie, it just didn't hit. It was a miss. And but then they show you how she did get shot and she did walk on out of there. But then they cut to this other scene where she's looking around and she's coming out of the hospital holding her baby, holding something, saying it's okay. It's like, what? I know she ain't got a dead baby wrapped up in that blanket. Not that big old girl. Anyway, how big was that girl? You ain't walking around holding her like that with, you know, she ain't on your shoulder and you ain't got her up underneath you got her wrapped like she's a little baby or something. Did she been die? Or did she die last night? Like the mama said, like, what's going on? Did you go to jail or not? I'm confused. I don't know. Cut that part out. Swear to God on my mom. Anyway, I'm just saying, you know, the whole movie was a bust. Now, I want to say this. This was the other thing that somebody pointed out, and it makes totally sense. Now, I'm going to add my own 2 cents in there, but let's just say I got some I got this some of this comes from somebody else, a comment that I seen on Google reviews, and I'm just adding to it, and I'm just going to start from the beginning. So basically, If you making $500 bi-weekly from one job, and then you got another job, you making at least $1,000 a month. You know what I mean? At least. We gotta go out on a limb and say you're making at least 1,500 a month, at least 2,000 a month, because you might be making at least 500 to $250 every 2 weeks at the other job as well, right? So you got that aspect. Now you a single mother. Of course you're gonna get food stamps, and you're gonna get a nice little bit. You know what I mean? So uh you would have had food stamps. They got food banks all around. So you now I noticed that she said that her daughter didn't eat a lot because she was sick or whatever. But I'm just saying that's another even if you were selling the food stamps, you could have got food stamps that would have helped you, you know, you know, compensate for the money that you was lacking for whatever reason. Um, the baby would have had Medicare, Medicaid off rip. She would have had that. And then the fact that she was sick, she definitely would have had it. As a matter of fact, the fact that she was sick, born with a disability, they would have given her a check from the beginning. So you would have been drawing a check from her. Um, like I said, there's food banks all over. There's places that help people like you in your current situation. So if you getting at least $1,500 to $2,000 every 2 weeks, you getting food stamps, and your baby getting a disability check. I don't know where the father was, if you had him on child support or not, and the baby got Medicare, Medicaid. What was the struggle? Did you forget about this aspect? Like I said, we live in 2025. There are plenty of of help aids out here that this woman could have been a part of. So you mean to tell me that her disabled child wasn't getting Medicare, Medicaid, or a check? My niece was born preemie, and she was having complications. So for the first year of her life, maybe year and a half, she was getting a disability check every month until when she stopped going through the issues that she had, they cut it off. But prior to that, she was getting one. So this little girl would have got one too. So I guess you didn't think that people would think about this aspect. And I know some people just might say, well, why didn't you just watch the movie? Because the movie is BS. It's the stereotypes. It's the agenda that's being pushed. Now you got people in other countries, and that's why the Africans and Jamaicans come over here and think the way they think of us, and people from other ethnic groups as well, because this is all they see. America has this big thing about portrayal, you know. So they show you what they want you to see. So when you see people in Africa, what they all dusty, no shoes on, they don't show you the concrete jungle just like we got over here. They show you all the little dusty rural areas and all the areas where all the warlords are at. You know what I mean? And even going back to the whole voodoo thing, where America got their tail whooped during the Haitian wars or whatever, and then they came back over here and they was upset that that happened, so they wanted to push the narrative that the Haitians were these voodoo witches and warlocks, and voodoo was all bad, not telling you that it was this spirituality. Think about voodoo, Buddhism, Hinduism, voodoo. It was their religion. It was what they believed in, their spirituality. But they demonized it. America demonized it. But it was just like Buddhism or Hinduism or Muslim. It was just like any of those other ones. It was just for Jamaicans and Haitians and Africans. It was just for that group of people. But a lot of people don't think about that. And then they came over here and they demonized it through their movies, through their rhetoric. But these are the same people these was your captors, the ones that bought you and sold you, and etc. And I know they say, oh, black people sold you too, but that's not what we talking about. If I'm an adoptive parent and I adopt you, I can't, and then I mistreat you too. I can't then say, well, her own parents mistreated them. What makes you think I wasn't gonna mistreat them? So even though we was sold by black people from in the original state, or like, I don't mean like in a country like state like origin or something. I meant like, an original form. We was originally sold by the black people, but when we got over here, that don't mean that y'all had to mistreat us as well, beat us and maim us and rape us, and people like to say, well, what does that got to do with you, and what happened to you? If you don't think that we still suffer from that, then you're delusional. We still suffer from that on a mass level. You know what I mean? There's still generational wealth that came from the white people, and there's still a lot of hatred and races. There are still what they call sundown towns. There are still places out here that will hang you. You know what I mean? That they can't wait for your black behind to come through there. So miss me with that. There's that we need to forget about that. Now you try to erase it out of the history books and all of this. So his story. So anyway, but at the same time, I do know that on the individual level, we can do a lot better. People need to just stop having these children that they can't afford to have, and get themselves together before they go out here and make these children that that's gonna suffer in the end, because either the parents don't get along, or the dad might run out, or the mom might push them away, or whatever the case may be. But the child suffers. The child don't have what they need financially, spiritually, emotionally, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is the case also in this movie. Stereotypes being pushed. You got this single mother, and instead of this mother being uplifted and showing how things can work, no, she's showing how she had a million things happen to her in one day, and it just pushed her to the point where she really didn't even snap. I guess she did, because she waving a gun around and wondering why they done call the police. Why would you do that? So that's why I went into the whole rhetoric about the voodooism and the stereotypes and the portrayal of that's what America does. They do it about the Inuit people. They do it about the Jamaicans. They do it about the French. They do it about the Russians. You don't know until you go over there and talk to these people, to be around these people. You don't know what they got going on, because from what I understand, a lot of the racist Russians are the older generation, and the younger generation are not. Just like Charleston White was saying about the white people. A lot of the younger white people, they like Aiden Ross. They like NBA Youngboy. They like Ice Spice and SZA and stuff like that. It's the old way, with the old racist white people walking around, and then of course you will have some young racist white people as well. Look how sick it was that this woman got $800,000 just for calling a little black boy the N word. So I'm getting off on a tangent, but going back to the movie, yeah, it was a miss for me. It was a bust. Your portrayal of black people, young black single mothers, it's a problem, because it just helps separate and divide us from a better lifestyle, making better choices, and so on and so forth. So anyway, man, that's my review on that movie. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about it in the bottom, in the comment section, and I'm out.